He told me I was too old, just like that. Sitting at the head of the table I sat, chewing on the baked chicken I seasoned, drinking the sweet tea I brewed. And he had the nerve to say it. "You know, Denise, you getting a little old for all that." He said it halfway through my birthday dinner. No card, no gift, not even a damn cake. Just that line, like it was casual, like my age was a flaw I should apologize for. I looked at him, not with anger, just clarity. And I said, "Then grow up, because I'm done raising you." My name is Denise Marie Holloway. I'm 50 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that silence can be louder than revenge. It was my 50th birthday, a Thursday in late September, one of those warm Kentucky evenings where the air feels like leftover sunlight, gold around the edges, soft enough to make you forget fall's coming. I'd spent the whole day working at Holloway Insurance Group, the agency my daddy started back in '82. The same year, he said, "Always insure yourself first, baby girl." He meant it about cars and houses, but now that I think about it, maybe he was talking about spirit, too. I manage the front desk now, handle walk-ins, policy renewals, late payments that come with apologies. It ain't glamorous, but it's steady. Keeps the lights on and the fridge humming. Keeps me feeling useful, like my name still means something in this town. That day, Mrs. Cole from down the street brought me a slice of red velvet in a paper napkin, said, "He better treat you right tonight, Miss Denise." I just smiled, because lying gets easier when the truth's already worn you out. After clocking out, I stopped by the Food Lion, rotisserie chicken, fresh rolls, the kind of lemon pound cake he used to like before he started saying he was cutting sugar. I even grabbed some candles, not birthday ones, just those little glass ones that smell like vanilla and pretend to fix things. I told myself, maybe this year will be different. Maybe he'll remember. When I walked in, he was on the couch, shoes kicked off, TV turned up so loud it rattled the picture frames. ESPN highlights flickered blue light across his face. "Hey, babe," he said without looking up. "You grabbed that sweet tea from Walmart?" No happy birthday. No hug. Not even a smile. I set the grocery bags down. The plastic crinkled louder than either of us spoke. I unpacked everything like muscle memory. Chicken, rolls, pound cake, 2 cups. The kind of ritual that don't need love to keep happening. Just habit. He didn't move. Just kept scrolling his phone like there was nothing in the world more interesting than other people's lives. So I did what I always did. I fixed him a plate, the bigger one. Gave myself the smaller one. Sat the sweet tea on his right side, because he's left-handed but never likes to admit he's messy. We'd been married 19 years. Together longer than that. Met him at a Juneteenth cookout in Richmond. He worked part-time at Firestone back then, smelled like motor oil and ambition, had that half smile that made you think he'd already figured out life's cheat codes. Back then, he'd bring me gas station sunflowers, talk about opening his own auto shop, about building something that lasts. I guess I didn't realize I was the thing that lasted. Now, he just smelled like entitlement and cheap aftershave. Dinner was quiet, not peaceful quiet. The kind that hums with unsaid things, resentment simmering under clinks of forks and hums of the fridge. I cut my chicken, chewed slow, kept my eyes on the plate because looking at him hurt more than the silence. He scrolled under the table, thumb moving faster than any interest he'd ever shown in me. "Who you texting?" I asked, voice steady. He smirked without pausing his screen. "Don't start." That's when it came. His favorite little jab these days, casual like conversation, but sharp like glass. "You know, Denise, you getting a little old for all that jealousy." I didn't answer, didn't blink, just let silence sit there, heavy and uncomfortable. He took a sip of tea, leaned back in his chair, and smiled that smug half-smile I used to love. "Maybe if you put this much energy into staying young," he said, "I'd put more energy into staying home." The air cracked. Not loud, just final. That was the funeral for my patience. I didn't flip the table, didn't scream or cry. I just stood up, collected my plate, rinsed it off like it was any other night. Only difference was, I didn't rinse his. He looked up, confused. "You mad now?" "No," I said, calm as Sunday morning. "Just grown." Then I told him what needed saying. "Grow up, because I'm done raising you." I left the rest of the food on the table and went to the front room, pulled out the old sofa bed, the one that creaks like memory, right beside my daddy's record player. I wiped the dust off one of his vinyls, Mahalia Jackson singing Trouble of the World. I hadn't played that record since Mama passed. When the needle dropped, the crackle filled the room like company, and for the first time in years, I slept, really slept. No tossing, no worrying if he'd come in drunk, no pretending I didn't hear the shower run at midnight after he swore he fell asleep on the couch. Just me and the music and peace that didn't need permission. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The house was quiet, except for the hum of the fridge and the soft tick of the hallway clock. I sat there, in my robe, coffee in hand, and made a decision. I wasn't going to leave, not yet, but I was done carrying, done covering, done being the only adult in a two-person marriage. He wanted freedom? He could start by finding his own socks. That Saturday, I drove down to the county clerk's office, old building. Smelled like paper and coffee and time. I requested a title copy for the house. The lady behind the counter, white hair pinned up tight, name tag said Shirley, looked through the system and asked, "Is it under Holloway or his last name?" "Holloway," I said. "My daddy helped with the down payment." She nodded, typed a bit, and handed me the paper. One signature. Mine, not his. You ever see truth in ink and feel your whole spine stand up a little straighter? That was me that morning. From there, I drove to Wells Fargo on Main, opened a solo savings account under my maiden name, Denise Marie Holloway. $500 start, birthday gift to myself. The banker, young girl with braids and a tattoo of a sunflower on her wrist, said, "Any plans for these funds, Miss Holloway?" I smiled. "Just freedom." That night, he came home like nothing changed, threw his keys on the counter and asked, "What's for dinner?" I kept folding laundry. Didn't even look up. "Whatever you cook," I said. He blinked. "What you mean, you not cooking?" I said slow, "this year I'm not raising nobody." He laughed, thought it was a joke. But the next morning, when he opened the fridge and found nothing prepped, no coffee made, no shirt ironed, that's when it hit him. He stood in the kitchen like a lost boy who realized summer's over. Over the next few weeks, I watched him more than I listened. He'd come home later and later, say he was with the fellas, smell like Douce and drugstore cologne, smile like he knew something I didn't. Maybe he did on back then, but the thing is, I was starting to know something too, that a woman don't have to scream to start changing her life. Sometimes all she's got to do is get quiet enough to hear herself think. And when I finally heard myself again, I didn't sound broken. I sounded ready. October came with cooler air and shorter days, the kind of days where the sun packs up early and the air smells faintly of wood smoke and rain-soaked leaves. In Lexington, the maples started bleeding color. Burnt orange, muddy red, that deep tobacco brown that makes you think of fireplaces and endings. The whole city looked like it was slowly letting go, and so was I. Letting go of the idea that he'd ever change. Letting go of the version of myself that bent just to stay wanted. Letting go of the noise, the kind that doesn't come from mouths, but from disappointment echoing between walls. It was quiet in that house, but not peaceful quiet. It was the kind of quiet that hums, like the air's holding its breath. I stopped folding his laundry. The basket sat in the corner like a test he never noticed. I stopped reminding him to take his blood pressure meds. If he wanted to live careless, I wasn't going to be the one to save him from it. I stopped being his home. One morning, he brushed past me in the kitchen. Cologne too strong. Ego. stronger. "You've been real quiet lately," he said, grabbing a mug from the cabinet like nothing was wrong. The coffee pot hissed between us. I stirred my creamer slow, watched the swirl fade into brown. "Silence don't mean I'm mad," I said softly. "Sometimes it just means I'm listening." He paused mid-sip. Listening to what? But I could tell by his tone, he didn't really want to know, so I said nothing. And that told me everything. The signs started multiplying like weeds in spring. Text messages with too many emojis, missed calls from names that sounded like bad punchlines, Tasha nails and Big Red, gym clothes that came home clean, work meetings that somehow happened on Sundays, and the way his phone never left his hand, even in silence. He'd sleep with it face down, charger cord snaking across his side of the bed. I started memorizing patterns. Late nights, early showers, cologne at odd hours. You don't need evidence when your spirit already knows. You just need confirmation. And one night, I got it. I was cleaning out the hall closet, the one by the guest bathroom, looking for my good scarf. The one Mama gave me before her chemo got bad. When I reached up, his denim jacket slipped off the hanger. A small pink Victoria's Secret bag tumbled out of the pocket. Didn't even fall far, just enough for me to see it wasn't empty. Inside, a red lace thong, tag still on, size small. I wear a medium, on a good week. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding it like a dead bird. Didn't cry, didn't cuss, just stared at it. The way you look at something that's already over. That lace didn't smell like me, didn't smell like home. It smelled like perfume I'd never wear. Something sugary, loud, and young. I waited. 2 hours passed before his headlights pulled into the driveway. He walked in whistling. That fake happy tune people hum when they know they're guilty. The thong sat on the dresser, bright against the dark wood like a red siren. He saw it, stopped mid-step, didn't flinch, didn't apologize. "You going through my things now?" he asked, voice cold, like I was the problem. I didn't answer. Didn't need to, because the thong had already spoken for both of us. He looked at it once, then back at me. "Denise," he said, like he was explaining something to a child. "People grow apart. Don't make this harder than it gotta be." That line, that lazy, rehearsed line, that's what did it. Something in me hardened, like clay left too long in the sun. All that softness I used to give him, gone. He thought I'd cry, beg, threaten to leave but never pack. He'd seen me hold on before, thinking love meant endurance. But this time, I didn't do any of that. I went to my corner of the room, pulled out my old black notebook, the one I kept receipts in back when we were first married, opened a new page, and started writing. Names, dates, bank account balances, mortgage payment history, every bill I'd paid from my own account while he was between jobs. The sound of the pen scratching against paper felt cleaner than talking ever did. I wasn't writing in anger. I was building a case, quietly, strategically, like a woman who'd watched enough Judge Lynn Toller to know how the story ends. At work the next morning, I asked Miss Carolyn, the office manager, how she handled her divorce. She didn't even look up from her computer. "Paperwork," she said. "Always start with the paperwork. Get your own accounts, make copies, keep records, don't argue, just prepare." That was her whole sermon. No pity, no preaching, just survival. So that same day, I went to Members Heritage Credit Union, the little one next to Dollar General. The lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and fresh printer ink. The teller asked, "Joint or individual?" I said, "Individual." She nodded, like she already knew. I deposited $400 from my emergency stash, the one I kept tucked behind old insurance statements in my desk drawer. Then I called my cousin Raquel. She works at the Fayette County Clerk's office, back behind that plexiglass window where the whole city's secrets live. "Rack," I said, "can you pull some property records for me?" She didn't even ask why, just said, "You finally ready?" "Yeah," I whispered. "I think so." That Friday, I stayed late at work, told him I had a staff meeting. I didn't. I just didn't want to go home. I drove aimlessly for a while, down Winchester Road, past the old Ponderosa that closed during COVID, out near North Broadway Baptist Church. The parking lot was empty. I pulled in, cut the engine, and just sat there. The sun was setting behind the steeple, sky painted in every color grief knows. Bruised purple, stubborn gold, that last streak of pink before darkness settles. For the first time in a long time, I said out loud, "Lord, I don't even know what to pray for anymore." And it felt like God was sitting in the passenger seat, quiet but near, saying, "You ready yet?" Later that night, I checked our joint debit card. There it was, a $78 Uber charge. 8:43 p.m. I showed him the next morning while he buttered his toast. "What's this?" I asked. He barely looked up. "I had to get to the barber shop. What's the problem?" I didn't argue, didn't even sigh. I just added it to the list, right under. Oct 13, VS bag Oct 14, Uber $78, every lie has a timestamp. Sunday morning, I woke up before him. The sky was still gray, the kind that makes you move slow and think deep. I baked cornbread, brewed fresh coffee, laid out a single plate. Just mine. He came down the stairs rubbing his eyes, smelling like last night's whiskey and cologne that wasn't mine. "Damn, cornbread smell good," he said, grinning. "You make grits too?" I nodded. Didn't speak. He sat down, fork in hand, ready to eat like the world hadn't shifted. I picked up my plate, steaming cornbread, one boiled egg, black coffee, and walked straight to the porch. The screen door creaked shut behind me. October wind brushed my cheek. I sat there watching the leaves fall across the lawn, little pieces of color drifting toward the inevitable. Inside, I could hear the sound of him knocking on the glass. Playful at first, then irritated. "Denise, you forgetting somebody?" I didn't forget. I was just practicing my exit, because deep down I already knew this house wasn't going to hold both of us for long. Not his ego and my awakening, not his lies and my silence. And as the wind carried the smell of cornbread through the porch screen, I whispered to myself, "I'm not leaving yet, but I'm getting ready." By November, the house felt colder than the air outside, and not just because of the weather, the kind of cold that seeps into things, into fabric, into conversation, into the places love used to live. Even with the heat on, the walls felt distant. The vents hummed, but the air came out tired. We were living like tenants, passing each other in the hallway like we owed rent, sharing a roof, not a rhythm, sleeping in the same bed but dreaming in different languages. His fluent in denial, mine fluent in clarity. He thought I was being difficult. Said it one morning while brushing his teeth. "You always got that look now," he mumbled through the foam, "like you mad at the air." I didn't answer, just looked in the mirror, not at him, but at me. The woman staring back wasn't mad. She was done. What he didn't know? I wasn't being distant. I was being deliberate. I started getting up earlier, before sunrise, before sound, before him, gone before his alarm even dreamed of ringing. At work, I said yes when Miss Carolyn asked if I could help with the senior Medicare renewals. Extra files, extra calls, extra hours. It wasn't much pay, but it added up like quiet strength does, slow and steady. I wasn't stacking to splurge. I was stacking to separate. Every deposit felt like a brick in a new foundation, one with no cracks. Raquel came through like she always did. She's my cousin, but she's more like a compass, always pointing me back to my sense. She pulled the deed documents for the house and sent me the scans. My name, only mine. No lien, no cosign, nothing tying him to the property but bad habits and a toothbrush. She called that night. Her voice came through the static, country and confident. "Girl, if you don't put that man out, that house gonna start rejecting you too." I laughed, that short, tired kind of laugh that don't reach your eyes. But I felt it. She was right. That house had started rejecting me. The floor creaked louder, the fridge hummed meaner, the pipes banged like protest, even the sweet tea didn't taste right no more. He was unraveling in small ways, not enough to make a scene, just enough for me to see. One night he came home with cologne on, something too sweet and too cheap, like it came free with a purchase. Smelled like gas station display case love. Another night he called me Rhonda. I froze mid-step. Didn't ask who she was. Didn't need to. I just wrote it down in my notebook, circled it twice, underlined it once. Proof, in ink and instinct. On November 10th, I went down to the Fayette County Legal Aid Clinic. Little beige building with flickering fluorescent lights and an old man at the front desk who smelled like wintergreen mints. The lady at the counter gave me a packet titled Separation Guidelines for Kentucky Spouses. She said the waiting period was 60 days if no children were involved. No kids, no complications, just silence and signatures. I took the packet home, tucked it under my pillow like a secret. It crinkled when I laid down that night, soft reminder that change was already in motion. The next morning, I started something I hadn't done in years. I made soap again. Back when life was simpler, I used to sell handmade shea butter bars at the church bazaar. Stopped when the bills got tight and his complaints got louder. Now I needed something that was mine again, something that didn't roll its eyes or smell like lies. I dug out my old soap molds from a bin in the garage, dusted off the Dollar Tree trays, the $12 heat gun from Walmart, the little digital scale I'd bought on clearance. Mixed coconut oil, shea butter, and lye, like I was stirring peace back into my own spirit. That night, I posted a picture on Facebook, Soft Return, All Natural Soaps by DMH back in time for Christmas. DM to order. At first, it got maybe 3 likes, then 5. Then comments started rolling in. Girl, I remember these. I still got that lavender bar from 2015. You shipping yet? By week 2, I had 27 messages, 14 Cash App notifications, and 1 wholesale inquiry from a boutique up in Berea. I turned the guest bedroom into my little soap lab, covered the table with wax paper, stacked essential oils from Kroger, lavender, peppermint, eucalyptus. The air filled up with new beginnings and second chances. He complained, of course, said the smell gave him a headache. I looked at him over my shoulder and said, then sleep at Rhonda's. He didn't like that, but he didn't say nothing back either. By Thanksgiving week, the house was colder still. We moved around each other like ghosts who remembered being married. He didn't ask what we were doing for the holiday. I didn't answer. We both knew pretending would be worse than the truth. But I cooked anyway. Not for him. For me. Just the essentials. Cornbread dressing. Greens with turkey necks. Sweet potatoes. Mac and cheese. A small roast chicken. Not a turkey. A turkey's too big for one person. The kitchen, filled with warmth even the walls couldn't steal. The oven light glowed soft like it was proud of me. I set the table for one plate, 1 fork, 1 glass. He came downstairs sniffing the air. Damn, that smelled good, he said. Where mine at? I didn't even look up. Just cut my chicken and said, where you been at? He blinked like he didn't understand English anymore, then walked off. Didn't slam no door, didn't yell, just sat in the den, TV flickering blue light on his face, acting like pride could fill his stomach. I finished my dinner slow. Let each bite remind me that peace has flavor. That night, I poured myself a glass of blackberry wine from Kroger, the cheap kind that tastes like nostalgia, sat on the porch in my robe, the air crisp against my cheeks. The neighborhood was quiet. Somewhere down the street, somebody's radio played Al Green. A dog barked once and gave up. I looked up at the night sky, clear and wide, and exhaled. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like permission. I wasn't free yet, but I was close enough to feel the draft sneaking under the door. That cool warning that something new was on its way. I sipped my wine, closed my eyes, and whispered to no one in particular, thank you for the stillness. Because that's how peace shows up sometimes. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. like the sound of your own breathing after you finally stop holding it. The Monday after Thanksgiving, I took the morning off. Not for rest, for the courthouse. The air had that post-holiday heaviness, leftovers in the fridge, leaves frozen to the curb, sky the color of dishwater. Lexington looked half asleep that morning, but I wasn't. I'd been awake since 5, ironing resolve into my clothes like armor. I walked into the Fayette County Circuit Court building with my paperwork in a plastic Walgreens folder, the kind that cost 99 cents but carried $1 million decision. Flats on my feet, peace on my face. No makeup, no earrings. Just chapstick and purpose. The clerk sat behind a thick glass window, chewing gum slow like time itself. "Name?" she asked, not looking up. "Denise M. Holloway," I said, voice steady. She stamped the file. "Petition for dissolution of marriage. Denise M. Holloway vs. Darren L. Holloway." The sound of that stamp hit like a closing door. Sharp, final, echoing just long enough to make sure I knew it was real. It was official. I was done, legally, spiritually, emotionally. Now all that was left was the reveal. I didn't tell him that day. Didn't need to. Silence was working better than words ever had. Instead, I moved in quiet, like my grandma always said, "Don't let the devil hear your plans till they're already done." And Grandma knew. She survived a man like him, too. Loud mouth, empty promises, charm for the world and contempt for home. So I did. What the women before me taught. I moved carefully, without announcement, without performance. My next step was Ms. Langford, attorney, elder, legend, black woman in her 60s, gray streaks like lightning through her bun, sharp as a paper cut and twice as quick. Her office smelled like peppermint tea and legal victories, framed degrees on the wall, one plaque that read, "Don't mistake my kindness for weakness." She looked up from her desk, reading my intake form, and said, "Let me guess, he don't pay no bills, got a second phone, and think he's slick?" I laughed, the kind of laugh that feels like exhaling dust. "Something like that," I said, sliding her my black notebook. She flipped through it. Names, receipts, bank balances, property records, every quiet observation from months of watching instead of yelling. When she closed it, she gave a single nod, the kind that carries weight. "We gon' bury him legally." That's when I knew I picked the right woman. That Saturday, I packed a single box. Not a suitcase, not a bag. A box. Inside, my important documents, my notebooks, Mama's Bible, the one with the pressed magnolia leaf in the front, and my best Sunday heels. I labeled the box Essentials, carried it to Raquel's garage, and tucked it behind her Christmas bins. She didn't ask questions, just said, "You safe here, cuz." I left everything else in the house exactly where it was. His jacket on the chair, his cologne on the dresser, his mess in the sink. He wouldn't notice what was missing. That was part of the plan. The following week, I mailed a certified USPS envelope addressed to my own house. Return label, D.M. Holloway. Inside was a copy of the divorce petition, a list of joint assets, and a note in my handwriting. "Since you said I was too old, I figured you wouldn't mind me doing grown folk business on my own. No hard feelings, just closure. Denise." When I dropped it in the blue mailbox outside Kroger, the wind carried a chill through my coat, but my hands felt warm. That's what letting go does. It burns quiet but deep. He called me 17 minutes after signing for it. Didn't say hello, didn't even breathe right. Just, "What the hell is this?" I looked at the phone, let it ring a second longer, then answered. "Exactly what it looks like." Before he could speak again, I hung up. The next few days, the house felt strange, cleaner somehow. He started doing dishes, taking out the trash. Vacuuming at random hours like guilt had turned into energy. I walked in one evening and heard gospel music playing. The Clark sisters, low and shaky through the Bluetooth speaker. Too late for salvation. He even bought a cake from Kroger. White frosting, blue flowers, plastic cover fogged with cold. Next to it, a sticky note in his handwriting. "I forgot your birthday. My bad. Let's talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I sliced the cake, cleaned down the middle and took one piece, left the rest. Sometimes peace don't look like walking away. Sometimes it's just taking what's yours without apology. December came quick. The air sharper, sky lower, morning slow to warm. I posted a photo on Facebook, me at the Lexington Winter Market, bundled in a tan coat, behind a folding table full of soap bars wrapped in brown craft paper and twine. Caption read, "Soft return, holiday drop. Come get your piece in a bar." It wasn't just marketing, it was a manifesto. And folks showed out, church members, old co-workers, the lady who used to braid my hair before her knees gave out, even Ms. Geraldine from Bryan Station High, my 11th grade English teacher. People stood in line with steaming cups of cocoa, gloves half on, cheeks pink from the cold. "You glowing, Denise," one woman said, reaching for a bar of eucalyptus mint. I smiled. That's what peace do. The way she nodded, slow, understanding, told me she'd lived it too. By the end of the day, my table was nearly empty. Just 3 bars left and a handful of business cards. That night, when I checked my PayPal, I saw it. Deposit received, 1,172.17. It wasn't much, not compared to everything I'd lost over the years, but it was mine, and that made it priceless. Freedom doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes as a PayPal notification at 10:43 p.m. On December 22nd, I sat across from him at the courthouse mediation room. Neutral walls, fluorescent lights, that smell of paper and perfume from 1,000 other broken vows. He wore the same shirt from our 10th anniversary, light blue with pearl buttons, like fabric could rewind time. I wasn't impressed. Ms. Langford sat beside me, calm as a sermon, folder open, pen ready. "Here's how this goes," she said to him. "You'll keep the car. She keeps the house. She's sole owner. You sign this acknowledgement. We file today." He frowned. "Wait, the house? You serious?" She slid the paper forward. "You didn't sign the mortgage, Mr. Holloway. She did. You've had 18 years of living rent-free. I'd say that's a fair trade." He blinked hard. "You really did all this behind my back?" I smiled. Not petty, not proud, just peaceful. "No," I said. "I did it in plain sight. You were just too busy chasing 25 to notice 50 was leaving." The room went quiet. Even the clock on the wall seemed to pause out of respect. He leaned back, eyes wet but mouth stubborn. And for once, I didn't feel sorry. I signed the papers, closed the folder, thanked Ms. Langford, and walked out without looking back. That night, I went home alone. For the first time, the word alone didn't feel like punishment. I put on my softest robe, the one with the frayed sleeve, lit one of my new candles, winter resolve, lavender, and sage, turned on Aretha. When Rocksteady came on, I turned the volume up, and I danced in my living room. Barefoot on the wood floors I paid for, with nobody watching, nobody questioning, nobody to tell me I was too old for anything. The candle flickered, throwing light against the framed photos on the wall. Mama, Daddy, a younger me holding dreams I thought had expired. Turns out they were just waiting on room to breathe. The following Thanksgiving, the house smelled like sage, sweet potatoes, and quiet. Not the hollow kind of quiet, not the kind that comes after shouting or slammed doors. This was the good kind, the kind that hums like peace, the kind that sounds like soft gospel humming under your breath while cornbread rises in the oven. I had the oven going since 7 a.m., the kitchen windows fogged up from the heat and sunlight cut through the steam like gold threads. On the counter sat bowls of chopped greens, sweet potatoes whipped smooth with cinnamon, and a roast chicken seasoned the way Mama used to, with love and leftover sass. In the window over the sink hung a little wooden sign I'd bought from a Black-owned boutique in Louisville. white script on a matte black board. It read, "Soft doesn't mean weak, quiet doesn't mean gone." And baby, that was me. It had been 11 months since I filed, 9 since the papers were finalized, 6 since I'd seen him in person. Time moves funny when you're healing. At first it crawls, every day stretching long and lonely. Then one morning you wake up, pour your coffee, and realize you ain't thinking about him at all. He'd moved to Cincinnati to start fresh. Or at least that's what Raquel told me after his cousin posted on Facebook that he was working part-time detailing cars behind a liquor store. I didn't verify it. Didn't need to. Closure don't require surveillance. Some chapters end without punctuation. You just stop reading. Instead, I kept building. The soap business that started as therapy turned into an income. Weekends turned into production days. Weekdays turned into delivery routes and website orders. I rebranded. New name, new energy. Second Spring Naturals. LLC filed, website live. Labels printed on recycled paper with my logo right in the center. A single flower blooming from a cracked sidewalk. Because that's what I'd done. Bloomed, even when I wasn't supposed to. My cousin's husband, Terrell, helped me design the logo on his laptop one night after dinner. He said, "You sure you want the crack in the design? Most people try to hide that part." I smiled. That's the point. That's where the story starts. By July, I'd saved enough to rent a small booth at Gray Line Station, that old converted warehouse on Loudon Avenue, where all the local vendors set up. My space was modest. 1 table, 2 shelves, a banner with my name printed in gold. On one side was a woman selling handmade earrings. On the other, a candle maker who said her business started right. After her divorce, too. We laughed like sisters who made it through the same storm. People started calling me the soap lady with the story. I didn't correct them, because they were right. Every bar I made had a story in it. Lavender for peace, peppermint for clarity, oatmeal for comfort. Little pieces of healing molded into something people could hold. Each label carried a small message underneath the ingredients. Soft is strength. By fall, I was shipping to 3 states. PayPal dinged every other day. The sound of those notifications felt like my own heartbeat. Steady, earned, alive. That Thanksgiving, I didn't invite anyone over. Not because I was lonely, because I was full. I cooked anyway, just like Mama taught me. Turned on the radio, Al Green first, then some Yolanda Adams for balance. Made greens with turkey necks, sweet potatoes with brown sugar, mac and cheese baked till the edges crisped, rolled out a sweet potato pie crust by hand, flour dusting my counter like snow, lit 3 candles, lavender for peace, cedarwood for grounding, vanilla for warmth. The smell filled the air, wrapping around the house like an embrace. When I sat down to eat, it hit me how far I'd come, not in miles, but in meaning. I looked at my plate and whispered grace, not to ask for anything, but to say thank you for everything. Thank you for strength that didn't come easy. Thank you for mornings that didn't break me. Thank you for finally feeling like home in my own house. And most of all, thank you for me. Around 5 o'clock, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Kentucky area code. I let it ring until voicemail caught it. Didn't even flinch. A few minutes later, a text came through. "Hey, Dee, I know it's been a minute. I was just thinking about you today. Hope you good. D." The D wasn't for Denise. It was for Darren. I stared at that message for a full minute. No anger, no rush of memory, just a soft, quiet disbelief that once upon a time, that name had the power to make me pause everything. Now it barely moved me. I scrolled up, double-checked the tone in his text. Polite, nostalgic, predictable. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I blocked the number. Not from hate, not from hurt, just from healing. No anger, no bitterness, just soft, final clarity. Some men are lessons, others are mirrors. He was both. That text reminded me who I used to be, and confirmed who I'll never be again. Later that night, I pulled my fleece throw over my knees and sat on the porch with a mug of ginger tea. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of stillness that makes you notice the small sounds, the creak of branches, the hum of distant laughter, the faint whistle of a train 2 streets over. Somewhere down the block, kids were lighting sparklers, their laughter bursting through the cold like fireworks that refused to fade. The sky above was wide and clean, stars blinking, like they were proud of me. I closed my eyes and let the air brush across my face, that perfect mix of smoke, sweetness, and the last warmth of the day. This was my life now, my home, my business, my body, soft but strong again. My name, still mine. My age, earned and unbothered. I thought about that woman from 2 years ago, the one who used to shrink herself just to make space for someone else's ego. She'd built dinners and dreams for a man who never showed up to eat. And I wanted to hug her. Tell her she wasn't crazy for hoping, just human. Tell her that peace don't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it walks in quiet, barefoot, and stays. Funny thing is, I never thought I'd be okay without him. Now I couldn't imagine me with him. Not because he was evil, not even because he cheated, but because the version of me that tolerated crumbs doesn't live here anymore. She grew up. She stepped out. She stopped apologizing for surviving. And when she rebuilt, she didn't start from scratch. She started from experience. That's what healing looks like. Not a clean slate. A mosaic made from the pieces that didn't break all the way. As the wind brushed against the porch rail, I whispered a small prayer. Not for him, but for me. Thank you for the storm, I said softly, because it washed me clean. Then I laughed. Not loud, not wild, just that soft, satisfied kind of laugh that comes from peace earned the hard way. Inside, my candles flickered through the window, painting gold against the walls. My kitchen, my sanctuary, still smelled like sage and sweet potatoes cooling on the stove. I picked up my tea, looked out into the quiet dark, and smiled. Because there ain't nothing louder than a woman who chose herself. If this story struck a chord, hit like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments.